I don't even know how to title this video. Should I call it Wake Up Slaves? Should I call it You've Been Duped? You've been tricked, bamboozled, lied to, stolen from, manipulated. You wasted your energy giving it to somebody else. I don't know what to call this video. I guess we'll call it part 2 of exposing the music industry one day at a time. As I promised, I'll be doing exposing the music industry one day at a time. This is part 2, 3-ish, because we had some parts in between. But you guys love part 1, so we're definitely going to focus on this today. So today's going to be pretty simple, and I'll break this up into parts so that you don't have to keep like trying to understand microscopic parts and then having to go back in time. We'll just separate all these parts. But today I want you to realize that you've been used. If you're a traditional music artist in the traditional systems, and what I mean by traditional systems is the institution of streaming. If you put your music up on a distributor, it goes to be streamed. Guess what? You're a part of the system. If you're an artist who then goes to be signed by a label or to some rights holder who wants to buy the rights from you, and then they leverage you and exploit your copyrights, guess what? You're part of the system. If you're a music producer who built something and gave it to a bigger entity to sell on a marketplace, you're part of the system. It's a mindset, and it's an employee mindset. And that's not going to serve you if you want to grow and to be an entrepreneur in the music business. The music industry is a manipulative system created to keep you at the bottom. Okay? It's a demonic system, in my opinion, to keep you at the bottom. And today we're going to go through the monetary side. What's the money look like? Okay, a lot of people are talking about streaming this, getting a million plays here, whatever. Let's talk about the money today and then how you can take that power back. All right, so there's a really important graph that you need to see. I'll link it below. It's from Berkeley Music, and it goes over how money flows in the music industry. So if you want the actual pinpoint components of how this whole system works, just look at the simple chart. So, without becoming a lawyer and going through every single step, let's just kind of look at it as a broad thing and break it down. It says, for radio and radio-like services, blanket licenses determine who gets paid and how much. It just said it right there, a blanket license. Do you negotiate your rates for a blanket license for radio? You don't, which means you have what? Zero power. Okay. So it says broadcast radio, MCs and the PROs, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, which then goes to the songwriter and publisher. This is how the money flows. Why are there so many people in the middle? If you do work for your job at Staples, who pays you? Staples. You don't go to Staples and work for Staples and then Google pays you. So the first question is, why is there a middleman in this equation? Because they want to tax you, because they own services, because what they're doing is digging in your pockets. The more middlemen you have, the more pocket digging there is. Okay, so broadcast radio, just quickly, without even going through the science, look at all these people in the middle. It says in the U.S., terrestrial broadcasters do not pay performers or sound recording copyright owners directly. Why? Because they created systems to offset risk and to do nefarious things for the most part, because they want to get around these systems and laws. So what do they have to do? Create external entities so that they're not liable for doing certain things to you. I'm not accusing any company of doing anything. I'm just saying that you don't think these systems are manipulated. They're created so that they create other corporations to take the fall. There's something in, crime, which is called the fall guy, and in corporation raiding called the fall guy. In the 80s, corporation raiding was going rampant. It's basically bank robbing from different corporations because of, a company that would IPO or go public, like Apple or Microsoft, all those companies that go public, they get public money, which is investments from people's retirement funds, all types of money coming in. And the goal is to take that dollar and turn it into 10. Well, they were going to different companies in the 80s and 90s doing corporate raids, which they would go in, IPO company, and then take the money from the public and move that money to different corporations around the world and basically take the money as if it were a bank robbery. So if you don't think the same thing's happening in broadcast radio, just because there's a law does not mean you're protected. Okay. And all these little people in between. The system is corrupted because the system has middlemen. Okay. So I could go deeper into the weeds, but we're not getting into the particulars. Now, webcast, also considered a broadcast or digital performance. Look at all these people in between. Why are there so many different companies in between? It's because there's certain companies with certain technology that can track what's happening when your song's played. You ever wonder, how does ASCAP even pay me for my song that got played in Germany? How do they even know? It's because business owners have to go to these different companies, your PRO companies, and buy licenses and tell them when they're streaming they'll buy like a yearly license, for example, and then they have to tell these companies which artists they've streamed or which, music they played throughout the year, because they're going to have to pay that bill. Okay. And then it goes through the PRO, which is basically I'll say manager, because they're managing and accounting for things. Okay. And then they count for it, and then you get paid whatever your portion is. Oh, but after they pay their staff, after they pay okay, it's always after. So you have a middleman. Okay. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm just saying how when you go worldwide, you have to have people who are helping the vision. The problem is, however, that the ambiguity is in between. Okay. So I'll leave you at that. But webcast here, we have PROs, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, again, which leads to the songwriter and publisher ownership. Then through Sound Exchange, it says digital performance of sound recordings go to the record label. 50% goes to the record label. 45% goes to the performer, and then 5% goes to the AFM and SAG FTR funds. Okay, so that's how the money's split up. Okay, now moving further down, this says for radio. Okay, so let's look at for record labels that have a direct deal with services. Now, what does that even mean? This is, you know what? It's perfect because it shows exactly the companies responsible. Okay, so radio would be Pandora, NPR, Sirius Radio. Okay, now I want you to ask the question before we even get to the next step. How many of these companies were consolidated? How many of these companies are syndicating content? Okay, so even if you get into the system, as MG the Future said, it doesn't mean, just because laws exist and just because the system exists, doesn't mean that you have equal right to earn the same way other people earn. Because even if you're in the same exact system, the question is, where does opportunity come from? Great, you registered your music and done all of these things. Where does opportunity come from? And the opportunity is the system that we're trying to pull back the curtain with, because it's structured and it's manufactured to create celebrity. Okay. And, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper in all these parts, but I just want you guys to realize that when you sign a record deal, yes, it comes with all these things, but because they have so many hands in your pocket, it's creating the illusion that those things can happen for the average person, which it can't. And then secondly, there's so many hands in the pockets of those successful artists that it basically equals out to nothing. So what are we chasing at the end of the day through these systems that they're luring you into? And again, my thesis is that they make money from the dumb public. Remember I talked about the IPOs going public, corporate rating in the 80s and 90s? Where did those people make the money? Not from selling whatever the product was that they did to start the IPO. The money came from the dumb, they call it the dumb masses. Okay, and it sounds a lot like dumb, okay? The dumb masses. Okay, stupid money is what they call it. So whenever you hear somebody talking about stupid money or dumb money, they're talking about money from the general public because they speculate on stocks. It's like they're betting, they're gambling on a company to be successful. And when that happens is, you'll notice, like, for example, when Facebook first IPO'd, what happened? The stock was like $35. Every dumb person in America put all their money into Facebook. It went up maybe, I don't remember the exact prices, so I'm going to create a scenario here, but let's say it went up to $50. And then everybody's like, we're going to get rich because Facebook just went public. And then all the institutional investors dumped on them. It's called pump and dump. You put all your money into a stock to give false confidence to the dumb masses who then put all their money in, and then you pull the rug and you take your money out and you take all the money that those people just put in. You just basically just steal it from them, and then they sit there holding the bag. It's called waiting for the stock price to go back up, which it never will because it was pumped up to begin with. And the same thing I'm saying here with the music industry is that you're chasing this illusion of celebrity. Celebrities manufacture. Okay. It's constructed. You have to have a storyline for a celebrity. If you look at the social hierarchy back in Egypt, they would have the kings, they would have the police or the security, then they would have the religious folks, then they would have the people who are scribes who write the scripts. Scribes write scripts on paper to dictate the programming for the rest of the society to comply. And if you were in this society of social hierarchy, what do you try to do? You try to go up a level. And if they can just dangle that carrot in front of you to make you think you're going to go up a level by giving them all your rights, giving them all your wealth, your future income, and all these different things, they're going to keep luring that in front of you until you're run dry. And then you realize at the end of the game that it was all a fantasy to begin with. Now, I'm not here to just give you doom and gloom. I will give you solutions in part, like 3 or 4. But you need to break down the myths that you have about the music business because, again, most people treat this like gambling, like a casino, like the lottery mindset. That's what gets people in trouble, is treating this as if you just get one hit, then everything's good. I'm going to get into some stats later where we go over the actual money behind music and not only the negative side, but how do you make money from music? Okay, we're going to get into all this. So for digital stores and on-demand streams, it says how the money flows depends on what entity negotiated the license. Now I want to ask you, there's a very simple question. Your stuff's on TikTok, right? Your music's on YouTube, right? Your music's on Twitter. Your music's on Facebook. Your music's on Instagram. Were you there when they pinned the deal to negotiate your rights to be able to use your music on those platforms? If the answer is no, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me in the comments. Were you in the room when they signed that deal to use your music? Oh, were you there when they paid 400 million, let's say $40 million to use the license, to buy a license to use all the music from that platform, that blanket license? Were you there to get any cut of that? Wait, no? Oh, okay. It's because you don't have any power to negotiate over something you don't control. And when you need to wake up from this fantasy, right? So what I'm saying is that you put all your energy to go to a distributor. Okay. So firstly, you have to pay that fee. It's not free. Then that distributor goes to all these streaming platforms, whether Spotify, whether YouTube Music, whether Apple Music, or whatever else people use. I don't even know, Tidal. Okay. Now, those people on those streaming sites give you 0.0003, I'll get to the exact number, but it's 0.000 something, $3 per stream, which means somebody has to stream your song about 3,000 times for you to get $1. Who in the right mind plays a song 3,000 times? I bought a Michael Jackson album multiple times, but all the albums I love from him and Rick Ross, I haven't played those CDs maybe 100 times in my entire life, but I paid well over $100 for those. Okay, so who in the right mind equated streams to value, first of all? Let's just start there. And then who decided to give you 0.0003 of a cent? Why? Because that's the middleman in your pocket taking money out of your pocket and allocating it somewhere else. And what do they do behind the scenes? They make deals with different social media companies. They sell them licenses to use music on their apps to make the apps more engaging. Do you get a cut of that 40 million, 50 million that they paid to the record labels and the music rights holders and the different streaming platforms? I'll say it's music rights holders, Sony, Warner, and Universal. Did you get paid for that? It's common sense. You guys got to realize, what music is used for is to sell other stuff. Okay, before I even get to the rest of this, because it's a lot left, what music is used for is to sell other stuff. The reason I have this iPhone is because, let me go to the actual page. I think you guys can see it on my screen. Let me double check though to make sure you guys can see it. Okay, what does this say right here? It says right here on Apple Music, try 1 month free. Now, if you're into marketing like I am and running a real business and doing all these things, you know how valuable a lead is. A lead could be worth $20 on the high end. It could be worth a lot more, but let's just say the lead's worth $5. Do you get paid every time somebody signs up to Apple Music? Do you get paid every time somebody signs up just to listen to your song? Do you get paid the $5? No. Why do you get paid 0.003 cents per stream to bring people onto a platform? And that person coming onto the platform signing up for free is actually worth $5 to the company if they were to pay Facebook ads or do any other type of advertisement. So you're giving them a lead, which is like around average of $5. Then they're paying you 0.0003% of, $0 of your own money. Then on top of this, they're selling iPhones that you don't get a cut of. They're using your music to sell this iPhone. They're using your music to sell this MacBook. They're using your music to sell computers, gear, keyboards, you name it, different apps, gaming apps. You don't get paid a single cent for giving all these companies the ability to sell your stuff. And then you wonder where the money from music is at. It's because you gave away all of your rights and ownership to these companies to basically treat you like a slave and not care about you. Think about that for a second. I just want you to wake up for a second and just see what these companies are doing. And you're willing to do it because you're chasing this carrot they call fame. You're chasing this carrot they call celebrity. Celebrity's manufactured. That's like looking at a car and going, man, I want to be a car, even though a car is systematically factorized and manufactured. It's like, okay, all I got to do is just do this blueprint and just paste the same parts and I'll get the same exact thing. Yes, that's how celebrity works. Let's keep going real quick. For digital stores and on demand streams, how the money flows depends on what entity negotiated the license. Again, that's not you, which means that you don't own any of that negotiation or the cash that comes from those deals. Digital sale, record label goes to you could just look at this chart yourself. We're not going to get into the boring weeds about how the money's divided up. First of all, this many middlemen is a red flag for me. I shouldn't have to pay this many people to get my music streamed. It should be my music streams. I get paid directly from the people streaming my music. I put up something online the same way I have on my websites. I have courses for sale. I have sound kits for sale. I have plugins for sale. I don't pay all these middlemen. I pay Shopify a 1-month fee. Okay. And they help me put my stuff out there online. And then I sell my stuff and you guys support the business and do whatever it is. And we have a direct communication and direct transaction. If you ever wanted to ask me about customer service, you email the email. What do we need 1,000 middlemen to do that for? But you treat your music as if it needs all these people. Okay, for record labels that are represented by a digital aggregator and distributor. Okay, so again, it goes down into the minutia, but I want you to focus more so on, and I'll link this below, so no worries on trying to memorize this. I want you to think about, what about a world like Web3 and blockchain where everything's accounted for, everything's on the blockchain, everything's on the public ledger? What about a world where you get paid directly, instantaneously? You don't have to wait 9 months to get paid. You don't have to wait for this employee to come to work to do the books so that you actually get paid on time. You don't have to wait for these people to take. It's just like, you ever have the frustration? I know my brain's going on tangents because I'm an Aries, but you ever go to a bank? You ever wonder why it takes 3 days to transfer your money? Like, it's not because Todd is checking every transaction and it takes 3 days to do it. It's because the rail system is a little bit clogged. But is it really clogged? Because there's so many transactions. I don't know. I don't know the back end. But my point is, why does it take so long to get paid from a bank when I can just PayPal myself and Cash App myself straight to my bank instantaneously? What's the whole 3-day thing? Now, notice when those companies do the instantaneous thing, oh, you could pay to skip the line. It's only $1. You want to instantly transfer this money over here? It's only $1. Nah, it's only $1. Only $5.99. That's a man in your pocket. You just earned $100 for yourself, and you're about to PayPal to send the money back to your bank account. You want to do it today? $5.99. I'm just making up that price. I don't know if that's their actual price. Okay, so I got a disclaimer. I don't know if that's their actual price of sending the money. But my point is, why can't it just be instantaneous? It's because it's like Disney World. If you guys ever went to Disney World, they have the regular line and then they have that VIP line. If you pay a little bit more, you can get in the VIP line, and skip the whole crowd. Okay, why would you do that? Because you value your time and you want to be in and out. You don't want to wait. Okay, now that's how they sell you and extract value out of you. Let's keep moving. But I just want to ask you simple questions. When's the last time you got paid for the blanket license for all your music to get played on TikTok? Yeah, you might get paid micro syncs, but I'm not talking about micro syncs. I'm not talking about the one stream that came from TikTok. I'm talking about the deal that went down to even allow for streaming on TikTok. Did you get a piece of that deal? Answer's no. Okay, so we need to talk about some more terms and different things, but I'm going to get into some. You guys wanted part 2, so here's part 2. Okay, so let's look at some streaming rates. $0.003 per stream on Spotify. Again, back in the day, I bought Rick Ross's CD. I bought Port of Miami. I bought, what else did I buy? I'm forgetting all the names. God Forgives. I think I bought that one. Maybe I streamed that one. I bought the Mastermind one. That's the one. Mastermind. I bought, I'm forgetting all his other ones, all the names of his records, but I just love the beats, love the music, loved his raps, bought all the albums, spent at least $50 on Rick Ross albums. I probably only had the ability to play those albums maybe 100 times total, because back in the day we had to use Walkman. I didn't have a CD player in my car. I had to use a Walkman converted to a cassette thing, and it was kind of janky at the time on how to do it. And it was harder because you had to change CDs. So I physically couldn't play 3 songs in a minute. I would have to change CDs physically, which could take a minute or 2 to even change the CD. Okay, and that's including a multi-CD changer. It takes time for the thing to rotate. So what I'm saying is the value for that music is still the value for that music. It's just that you were duped into this deal to say, okay, we'll pay you a flat fee. Anybody who streams your music, we'll give you 0.003 cents. Yeah. So yeah, let's do some math real quick. 0.003 cents. Yeah, that's what you deserve, Todd. That's what they tell you. Let's open up a calculator. Let's do some math. How many streams does it take to get to $1? Let's do one and then boom, 0.003. 1 divided by 0.003 is 333 streams. You need to get 333 people to listen to your song to get $1. Just really think about this for a second. You need to get 333 people to listen to your song to get $1. Now, back in the day, albums used to be about $10 on average. So even if you went into a Sam Goody and you demoed a CD, let's just say it's a Sam Goody full of people, and you have 300 people who come into your store and they're they're listening to your demo of your CD on the little headphone station that they used to have. How many? Okay, so out of 300 people, you don't think one person's going to buy a $10 album? Out of 300 people who come into the store listening to the Young Jeezy album, the new Young Jeezy, at least 5 people are going to play that CD. I mean, at least 5 people are going to buy that CD out of 300. That's not a crazy number to ask. Let's say 5 out of 300. 333 is times 100. Let's see what percentage that is. That's a 1% conversion. And if you run a real business like I do and you're an entrepreneur, you know that getting people from about 1 to 5% conversion is pretty simple. So 1.5% conversion, that's assuming 5 people out of 333 bought the album. 5 people times 10 is $50. You're selling yourself 50 times less through streaming. And then you're taught that this is the promised land because it's monthly revenue. It's what's the word that they use? Passive income. Okay. So I want to bring you a reality so that you guys have okay. So let's get real about this stuff. Apple, it does, regardless, is the streaming rate you need. It says if an artist has a song that gets 1 million streams on Spotify at an average rate of $0.004 per stream, the gross revenue would be $4,000. You know how hard you know how much money it would take to get 1 million streams, or how much attention that would take, how much energy that would take to get 1 million people to play 30 seconds of your song for it to even count as a stream. Let's not even get into the music counting as a stream. That's another rule that they're using to keep a lot of your money. Okay. Because if somebody gets on the website for a free account and they just play 20 seconds of your song, they liked it, but they moved to another song, you don't get paid. So you're letting all these companies use your music for free so that they get customers worth at least $5 a lead. And then those customers could potentially turn into buying customers to $50. You're giving your wealth away and getting nothing in return. You're letting all the apps use your music. You're getting nothing in return. Who signs up for that deal? That is the dumbest business decision ever. Who signs up for that? Any smart entrepreneur does not do this. They leverage the music business and streaming and all this to advertise other things that they have going on. They're not using this as a primary source of income. Okay, so let's move into some other numbers because we need to do a part like 3, 4, 5. And I need to bring people on. There's so many things we need to get into to really break this music industry apart so that you see it for what it is. Okay, performance royalties. For radio play, the royalty rate in the US is roughly 0.0. Let me switch screens. My fault. I thought you guys could see. My fault. Okay. For radio play, the royalty rate in the US is roughly 0.00012 per play per listener for commercial radio. So if a song is played on a station with 1 million listeners, that's about $120. How many radio stations do you know have 1 million active listeners? This is back in the days where Sirius was separate from XM and satellite radio was fresh. That's when you had 1 million listeners. And when you played a song, you can get $120 a song. And when they could pay comedians $500 for an appearance for a radio show, whether it's Howard Stern, Opie and Anthony, whatever, those are the days of that type of radio. Radio nowadays is not the same radio as back in the day. I'm not saying money isn't in radio because people still advertise, businesses still advertise on radio, which means the money's still there. It's just the listenership is not there. So how do they gain the listenership? They syndicate through things like Sirius XM, iHeartRadio. All those companies are conglomerates compiling all these different distribution channels into one massive audience. So now they say, okay, we have 20 million listeners. And then now they can go and say, hey, you want to get your stuff in front of 20 million listeners? And they sell to advertisers and they can sell to content creators or whatever. But the point is, this rate right here is almost the same as streaming. So for people telling you there's a gazillion dollars per radio play and radio royalty rates, you need to look into the reality of getting in front of 1 million people per listen. That's insane. Okay, for concerts, the royalty rate is typically, we don't need to worry about concerts right now. So you guys asked me about sync fees and license fees. The reason I'm using ChatGPT is because it speaks better English than I do. And for two, it helps me stay on track. Sync licenses are another way to make money. So even if your song goes to stream 1 billion plays, whatever. Oh, you know what? I have to show you something else here. Let me show you it does equations for you as well. Okay, so let's say a producer even can negotiate up to a 5% royalty rate, which most can't. Let's just say they can. And you got to remember that this is divided across the 10 producers that it takes to create a hit song nowadays. And I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying this is the economics of the business right now. Let's say a top tier producer has a 5% royalty rate on a hit record that sells 1 million copies. Now, I should have asked ChatGPT, how many streams does it take to be considered 1 million? Actually, let me pause this video to pull up that exact number. All right, so we're going to do this in real time. Now, you got to remember, too, in this conversation, it's not just how many numbers does it take. The bots are botting half of these numbers to begin with. Again, what does it do? It takes the money from the person who deserves the money, you uploading music to these different platforms, and it puts it into these people who use these nefarious means of getting streams. And it's hush hush because that is how the app works. The app cannot work if it doesn't have the rights to your music. So of course they're under the gun from these record labels because the record labels run these apps. Without music, the app can't exist. So of course some stuff's going to slide under the radar. Okay, so it says the Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA, and the industry standard generally the industry standard generally consider 1,500 song streams as equivalent to one album sale. So to get 1 million copies sold on paper, you have to get 1.5 billion streams. Who in the what in the F has 1.5 billion streams? Again, think about your favorite album you've ever played in your entire life. You don't play it that much. You played it maybe, I can't tell you. I'll tell you about me. Michael Jackson's Invincible is one of my favorite albums of all time. I played it maybe twice this year, or not even this year. I don't even think I played it this year. I maybe played it twice last year. 1.5 billion streams. You guys need to wake up. Let's scroll back up. I just want to give you guys these numbers just to show you how impossible it is for the average person in the music business. Again, they put celebrities at the top of the chain to make you think that you could do the same exact thing. A lot of that money in the other parts of the series, we told you, comes from different means. It's not from the music industry. That's a lot of dirty money that you're seeing people ride around in their roles. That's not from music. That's from people cleaning up money. It's money laundering, okay, on high levels. That we already talked about. So, I don't want you to compare yourself to these people who are not using the same systems you are. Okay, it says, let's say a top tier producer has a 5% royalty rate on a hit song that sells 1 million copies at $10 each, which again, who sells a $10 album? That's $10 million in revenue. The producer's share would be $500,000. So to get a $500,000, this is just one hit song per 1 year, per the chance that you even get the hit song. The producer share would be $500,000, assuming that you even have all 5% of the royalty rate. Okay. So, and this is, there's a difference too between the technicalities. That's why I said I want to get a entertainment lawyer on, because there's different nomenclature between royalty and the mechanical. So I don't want to confuse people, but let's just keep in this conversation. The producer share would be $500,000 if they get 5%. Now, again, divide this by how many producers on a record. It could be 5. So they get $100,000 per hit song. And the hit song has to do 1.5 billion streams in order to get that. So in order to get a simple 6 figures in business, not only do you have to hit the lottery to get a hit song, because there can only be a certain amount of hit songs per year. You have the Billboard number 1, and then let's say number 1 through 10 even. Okay, but that can only happen however many weeks are in the year, which is 52 weeks in the year. So how many slots do millions of people pursuing this music production thing and artistry thing have at getting 52 slots a year at the 6-figure income that comes from this 5% royalty rate? This is why most people fall for the pub deal scam. I'm saying scams, but pub deal situations, I'll say, okay, where they sell their future income for current cash. The reason why that's dumb is because the people who buy your rights are bundling all this stuff so that they can sell it to all those people we talked about before, to the apps, to whoever, however they exploit your rights. Okay. But the main thing is that they take your future income. And, Dorian can come on, or I could pull up his video in a different part where he talks about the prison pipeline. How does music make money from hip hop? They have shares in the prison system. They use music as a loss leader, potentially, to drive people to the actual money, which is the stocks and the shares that they have in these prison outcomes. Okay, so you guys have to wake up. This stuff is used to trick you so that you contribute to it so that they can make money off of you through the real ways. Okay, so I'm probably gonna wrap this video here. We could do a part 4 in a little bit. I just really wanted to give you the numbers so that you're not confused. Again, I'm trying to speak as broad as possible because there's a lot of what's it called? Microscopic scenarios and minutia that we can get into, but it's too minute. Okay, so you guys, here's the last thing you guys asked me about: sync licenses. Okay, so sync licenses, the fees vary. In order to even get a sync license, the reality of this is you have to know somebody who's in the know. You don't just walk up, and get a sync license. Now, most of the game is played on Sync Library. We actually interviewed Clint Music, who talked about the reality of getting your music into sync and different things, whether it's video game, film, commercial work, or TV. We have that on this channel. Just type in Clint Music BusyWorks Beats. He goes over this stuff. Okay. And the main system is that you as a creator contribute original work to a sync library. Why do people give to sync libraries? Because if I'm a producer of a movie, let's use common sense for a second. If I'm a producer of a movie and I can't pay J-Lo to make me the next hit song for the movie, I don't have a $500,000 budget for the film and music, specifically for one little scene. Okay, I can't clear the rights with them. So guess what? I'm going to go to this library where I can clear the rights guaranteed. All the music's original. There's no other creators. Everything's pre-cleared. And I could do it at either a flat rate or a negotiable rate to where it's about the same. It's not just like 30,000 here and then 3,000 here and then 300,000 here and then 2,000. Okay. I can go to these libraries and do these deals where they've already gathered all the good music and put it into a library. And that's where the film people go, to these libraries who already have the music compiled, already have the paperwork lined up. Because again, these film companies, a lot of people realize that they don't even want splice loops in your beats. And that's because these film people are very particular about, rights when it comes to music. That's why you have a little bit more of a chance if you're an independent artist dealing with the sync world, because they're looking to almost break an artist through their TV show or through their movie or whatever it is. Movies not so much, but TV shows more so. Series and even video games are more mainstream now. But I could say TV and series, they're trying to break those artists. I heard this directly from a music supervisor in the space. And the reason they want to break the artist is because they're treating it almost like a record label. That's what makes that piece of film even greater. Imagine if you saw The Warriors and you heard a film track that was just crazy and you're like, wow, this movie is excellent and then this song is excellent. So both make each other successful and it just multiplies. That's what these guys are aiming for. Now, if you have a $500 million film budget and you're making the next Black Panther, you're not going to take a risk on an unknown artist because you need to have that formula to the T, because if you're putting that much money in, you need to know you're getting that much money out. You can't take risks that big in that type of world. So that's when they go to the huge, licensors, the Universals, the Sonys, the Warners, to get access to those libraries. That's when they're willing to put up these huge amounts of money because the hit song already proved itself. It already proved that it can touch 300 million Americans and get them interested. Why wouldn't I put Drake's song in this movie if it's going to reach the entire world? I need to make the money back on this film. I've talked to let me go big screen. I didn't realize you guys are staring at a screen. I've talked to a film studio owner who's building out a project up in Malahat Studios off of Vancouver Island. It's a $100 million film studio. Okay. Now they told me a lot about the film business, how much they understand getting the water tanks so that people are going to fly in to make their movies there because they have a certain water tank. I forget exactly the rules and the laws in their land, but there's a reason why their water tank is so important. I think there's California laws where they can't have a certain amount of water, whatever. I forget the exact laws. Okay. This person it's almost like Tyler Perry, but over in Canada. And one thing I realized is that to even make a show, like people think you could just go on TV and just put up a TV series based on your creativity. Guess what you forgot? Insurance. You cannot just go up to a TV show and put up a TV show. I mean, go up to a network, pardon me, and then start a TV show. You need to buy insurance. That alone creates fear, and I'll say fear, in the film producer to stay away from risk because they already have to get insurance for anything that could potentially go wrong with the film. Now they, on top of that, have to deal with risky producers who don't, tell you that they used a sample or tell you that they took the loop from a splice. And now this producer wants to sue because they're arguing over this hit series. And now everybody's job is ruined because some producer skewed the details. Okay. So there's so much to get into with the music industry. I just want you guys to focus on music business, controlling your destiny. How? By you controlling this stuff. Do you need all these middlemen in your pocket? Do you need all these people doing all this stuff for you that you don't control? Are you okay with selling your music for pennies? That's the decision you have to make. Don't be an employee mindset in this business. Be an entrepreneurial mindset in this business. You can't get far being an employee in this business. You're just going to get wrecked. What employee has ever overtaken the music industry? Ever? Name one famous employee from the music industry. All right, guys. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.